All right, so you saw some of the things that Pule Mabe has said in public. I mean, a meeting is a mood is a mood of a meeting. I mean, he said so many crazy things, man. And of course, speaking.
The mood is a mood of a meeting. Yes. People are in a meeting. Right. Everyone is allowed according to an opportunity to raise their issues. So the mood is.
If the ANC was running a cash in transit heist, something like that, then it would say, no, we know the robberies we're going to be conducting in the next 2 months will give us enough. The ANC depend on the people.
All right, welcome to it. This is the Free Ride Podcast. Thank you so much for all of you for tuning in, for watching, for liking, for subscribing. And of course, thank you so much to all of you who liked the last episode of the Free Ride Podcast. And of course, it's called The Unfiltered Truth. And of course, this is a political and economical and segment that looks at current affairs issues. And of course, I like to do it because that's where my strengths are. It's really just enjoying being able to talk about current affairs, matters that affect us as South Africans, as a community, okay? So thank you very much to all of you who commented, who had a lot to say about my last episode of The Unfiltered Truth. So I'm back at it again. So listen, man, I know that I had all these artists lined up to come onto the Free Ride Podcast. It's just been a bit difficult the last 2 weeks or so being back at it because it's all back to school. My 3 kids are back at school and it's new schools. It's just been lots of admin around traveling. It's just making sure that they are home on time. I pick them up at times at school. It's just been a lot. So I've been apologizing to all my guests for so long. And of course, there were others that I've hadn't invited. And at the last minute, the show could not carry on. So I do apologize for that. But we'll definitely be back again with the Free Ride Podcast, where I get to interview artists, where I get to interview lawyers and business people and psychologists and authors and you name it. I've had all those people here. But this time around, to make it easier, I've been doing these particular podcasts called The Unfiltered Truths because it's more simpler. I don't get to drive and go to the West Rand, East Rand, Soweto to go and pick up a guest. It's just been a bit of a nightmare, not a nightmare, but a bit of a challenge just trying to get through to everyone. And also the risks involved. I mean, I've had some few incidents where people wanted to steal this car, break into it. And some of these issues, I really didn't want to talk about them on the show because, they are a security risk to me and to the show. And so I haven't been talking about it, but I'll definitely make sure that as soon as I've beefed up a couple of things, we'll be back on the show, on the road again, and talk to all these artists. I mean, so many artists have been hitting me up saying, Sipo, we want to come onto the show. We want to be part of the Free Ride Podcast. And also, just lastly, there have been some new developments. There's talks between myself and this particular channel right here, Starsat. And a particular channel on Starsat has shown an interest in working with myself and the Free Ride podcast. So we are working on the administration of trying to see how we can put this particular show on a TV channel. So we're just doing a lot of paperwork. So that's also occupying a lot of my time. So it's easier for me to record a show like this, which is the unfiltered truths, talk about what I'm watching, what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing. There's no need for me to go and find guests and go drive to guests and interview them for an hour and then drive another hour back. So I've cut a lot of admin, all right, out. So, but I'll be back hopefully by March when the dust has settled in the month of February. We'll definitely be back in the month of March to interview some guests. There's some guys who want to come onto the show. There's another dude who wants to co-host the show with me. And there's another dude who's hosting. In fact, let me show you. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to show you this video of a party that's going to happen towards the end. Actually, it's a New Year's Eve party. My boy Happy has put together an event Orlando on the 31st of December. It's going to take place in Orlando. It's a party for young people. And of course, I'll show you the details as soon as I take a break and you can check it out. And of course, we're collaborating with him. We'll be his media partner. We'll be interviewing quite a number of artists who are going to be performing on the New Year's Eve party from April. And so there's just so much that's being lined up. And I want to make sure that from an admin side, I get a lot of my paperwork out of the way in preparation for all these things that are coming up. Okay, so let me deal with that admin. Let me go to a break. Let me show you what Happy's planning. And when I come back, I'll tell you what the show is all about. Let's do that. Boom. Man, so check it out, man. So Happy V is got this party coming up next year, New Year's Eve party, and check it out. It's going to be happening in Orlando. All right, so let's get back to what this show is all about. This is the unfiltered truth. So I'm back again. A couple of things to check out this on this particular episode. All right. So firstly, it's been a very, very busy week. It's been a hectic week last week. So much happened, and and this week is also quite a busy week. So I'll reflect on last week, but also what to look forward to this week. Today, as I record this, the president of the ANC and of course the state president, President Cyril Ramaphosa, is going to be delivering the State of the Nation's address, and of course it's taking place. And when it takes place today, a lot is expected out of him. So many questions are being asked. A lot of people are upset and angry about the issues of electricity. Also, what's taking place in Cape Town is the mining indaba is taking place. And just having looked at some of the interviews being done with delegates to this mining conference, the deep concerns are the structural problems that the country is facing, just in terms of the infrastructure, the issues of electricity. We've seen so much happening, and of course I've spoken at length about the issues of electricity, and I'm not going to repeat them. So those are at top of the agenda. The issue of labor, the issue of labor unions, and I know that the mining agencies or mining companies are going to be taking a look at this. Okay, so this week's stuff, I'll have a look at it next week and talk about it, just to give you a reflection about what took place. Okay, so all right, so the president, as he addresses the nation, a lot of us are expecting to hear real progress that he may have made. around the issues of energy, around the issues of unemployment, around the issues of, I'm just watching my dog. She's fighting with a dog next door. She's just so crazy, man. Her name is Nicki Minaj. She's a feisty little mixture of a Jack Russell as well as a Burpo. So she's just constantly ready for a fight. Anyway, I digress. Let me get back to the point I was making. So let's take a look at what possibly the president might want to talk about. He might want to address a couple of issues. The inefficiency of the state to be able to deliver services efficiently across municipalities. He might want to tackle the issues of unemployment. He might want to tackle the issues surrounding energy that are mainly infrastructure, dilapidation, the issues of coal, green energy, independent power producers. We've seen recently, lately, the CEO of Eskom, Derater, saying that coal should be done away with, and that we should reflect and look at perhaps the issues around the independent power producers and the green energy space. So we'll hear exactly what the president is going to talk about, and knowing that he did not go to Davos and that he was here folding his sleeves and wearing overalls and trying to deal with the matters of Eskom. So we'll hear what he has to say about that. All right, so today's show, basically I wanted to pay homage to a comrade, a friend, and of course the former national spokesperson of the ANC, Pule Mabe, who last week invited me to his farewell function, which was held outside of, actually it was held at the venue just outside of that hospital in Parktown. And of course, I'll show you the venue. So I was there on Friday night, attended the event, heard a couple of speeches, and of course, I'm going to show you what went down. Not everything. These kind of things tend to have long speeches and that kind of stuff. So I'll show you a couple of speeches. And of course, also to reflect on the term that Comrade Pule, the national spokesperson, has had. Okay, so he came into office in 2017 when President Ramaphosa was elected. And of course, we saw Ace Magashule elected as SG. And of course, he's had a turbulent time, because this was never an easy term of office, because he came in when Jacob Zuma was told to step away from the office. He was still state president, but no longer the ANC president. He wanted a 6-month to stay in office and do a handover. Ramaphosa was not having it. And remember, Ramaphosa came in December. By January, they were already knocking at the president's door, asking him to resign from office. That took a couple of months, and that took a lot of balls for the leadership of the ANC to ask Zuma to step down. So it was a very turbulent time. Also, he was at a time where, for the very first time, the ANC Secretary General was asked to step aside for issues around corruption that he was facing. And of course, we know Ace Magashule had a very, very difficult term of office. In fact, he did not even finish his term of office. No one knows what the SG actually did. It was a term filled with lots and lots of drama, leading up to the 55th National Conference. And of course, which saw also the Deputy Secretary of the ANC also passing away, and of course leaving only the top 3 of the ANC, which is the president, the chairperson, and the treasurer, which is Paul Mashatile, who then played 3 particular roles: as treasurer, as deputy secretary, and of course we saw when Gwen Ramakgopa at some point was then asked to step in and assist at the top 5 levels. So much happened in his term of office. So I'm going to reflect on a couple of moments, funny moments, things he has said. I mean, we know that Comrade Pule has said quite a couple of things in public, and some of which were created as memes, jokes, and all sorts of stuff. So the man had a very difficult time in office, and of course, he brought some funny moments as well. So I'll be reflecting on those, and then towards the end, I'll play you some of his speech at the farewell. And I want to wish him well, and I want to thank him, and I'll talk slightly about how I met him and some of the things we ended up doing together. So let's do that. Boom.
We want to send a strong message. We want an urgent solution on this thing. We want to deal with the issues of illegal immigrants much quicker. People must be in South Africa legally. If you are undocumented, don't be in this country. Police must act against illegal immigrants, and they must act now with the army.
Yeah, lastly from my side, can you just give us the mood inside that locker room? How is it? The alliance, the response, and us?
We are in a meeting. The mood is a mood of a meeting.
Yes.
People are in a meeting. Right. Everyone is allowed according to an opportunity to raise their issues. So the mood is meeting mode.
Okay, thanks. Yes.
That's what just one from.
We'll come back to you, Clement. Don't take everything, Budvoyo.
Imagine this. Imagine we decided that
you need to also have the opportunity. This is not the first time your employees are picketing. So it's actually been a number of months. So from today, is it the last time they are picketing, or next month would be faced with the same situation?
The ANC is not a bank robber. The ANC relies on donations. If the ANC was running a cash in transit heist, something like that, then it would say, no, we know the robberies we're going to be conducting in the next 2 months will give us enough. The ANC depend on the people. It is the trust of those people. Once we enjoy it, once the people renew their love and their trust and their confidence in the ANC, and they start to invest their resources, we will be able to sustain this organization of Nelson Mandela.
Thank you very much.
All right, so you saw some of the things that Pule Mabe has said in public. I mean, a mood is a mood of a meeting. I mean, he said so many crazy things, man. And of course, speaking, and of course, you could see even his conversation with Mzwandile was a bit frustrated. But you'll see, Mzwandile actually had to speak at his farewell function after, he's also confirmed that in the beginning when he met Comrade Pule, there was a couple of issues between him and Comrade Pule. And at times they had to threaten him to give him exclusive interviews. And of course, also the refusal of the president to actually speak to the media in his term of office. That at some point the president was nowhere to be seen. He was hardly available for interviews. So he speaks about that. But no, I don't have all the full speeches of what everybody said on the night, but I'll just show you clips. Some of the media journalists, some of them were happy to have worked with him in his term of office. And of course, wishing the current spokesperson, Mashengu Bengu, all the best, and wishing her all the best for the term, because it's not easy leading the African National Congress in this turbulent time. And of course, also what I wanted to just share with you is that I met Pule Mabe probably around about 2018, just after the conference, and I had met him through the likes of Kusela Diko, who was the manager of communications at the ANC, as well as Zizikoto. I had been working with them on a couple of events and so on. I was representing 1912 Online Radio and the ANC Joburg region as a media and communications manager at the time. And I had come in to represent Joburg because in Joburg we had built such a strong, formidable team of media and communications where we had almost 30 to 35,000 followers on social media, on Twitter alone, and just sitting at over 25,000 followers on Facebook. And we had built an online radio station, which was also a podcast platform. And the idea was to say to the ANC that if you build a solid platform of communications, like a radio platform, a radio station, you'll be able to train your local councillors before they go to council to understand media, to understand how to do interviews, to be able to understand posture and body language and understand how to write and how to use social media. So the whole media and communications platform that I'd helped assist build in the region of Johannesburg, the intention was to be able to help and make politicians from Johannesburg a lot more stronger and understand the media and comms place in society, to understand that actually journalists, when you understand them, you'll be able to work a lot more better with them. And this is how you lead communities in your communities, by communicating effectively, using local newspapers, local radio stations, going to radio stations, and not running or shying away from difficult issues. And of course, at the time, a lot of service delivery issues were happening in Soweto. The issues of electricity were long-standing issues, and would help councillors to say, "Young, go Jozi FM, go speak to the media, come to us, let's train you, let's help you. Let me ask you difficult questions so that you get used to being asked difficult questions, so that when you go to the media, you know exactly how to handle it." So, so that's how I met Comrade Pule, to introduce what we're doing in Joburg. And then from there, he then took an interest in some of the young people that I had in my team at the time. I'm not going to mention their names, but he ended up picking at least about three young people from my team. I had a team of about 16, 17 young people. Some of them were producers, presenters, and so on, and photographers, videographers, and he picked three, and social media managers. He picked three from my team that are still currently helping at Luthuli House. And of course, that's how we started up working, because you could see how I trained these young people. Some of them became working in government in the city, in the province, and so on. So he could see that I was very passionate about the media and comm space. And so we built a sort of a relationship between myself and him. And over time, I managed to go and cover quite a few events, State of the City's address, the State of the Nation's address. I'd been to January 8th statements, Siyanqoba rallies, and of course, that term of office was also, like I said earlier, that it was just filled with so much issues. So one of the issues that, things like COVID-19 came in. There were serious issues where the countries was closed down for about 2 years, and that affected obviously his work and my work and the work that we were doing. And of course, also there was disasters happening. There was the issue of Jacob Zuma. The July unrest took place. And of course, like I said, so many people died in that particular last 2-3 years. He was just constantly, being put in a spot and finding it very difficult. So that's how I met him, and we've managed to do a couple of things together. And I think at this point, I want to show you some of the comments that were made by people. And further, let's look at some of those funny videos and see some of the things that Pule Mabe has said. And then when I come back, I'm going to wrap it up. Let's do that. Boom.
When last did you experience load shedding?
Every time you experience it, I experience it.
So you don't have a generator?
No, I'm experiencing load shedding the same way that any other South African is experiencing.
It costs 10,000 to get a generator. You're telling me you don't have that?
Well, actually there are other means. You can have solar panels, you can have other things.
Exactly. You don't have that?
Well, we try. We've got other alternative sources.
So earlier here on the channel, we spoke to ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe on the party's reaction to the ongoing power crisis. And during the interview, we mistakenly broadcast that the ANC is calling for a shutdown against load shedding. On the contrary, the party's spokesperson has slammed calls for national shutdowns by opposition parties. Pule Mabe is in studio and he joins us now. And our sincerest apologies about that error.
Yeah, well, it was quite concerning because it began sending panic out there. And it also appeared as if it was deliberate and intentional. Because it cannot be that when others are trying so hard to push the organization back, even with the efforts that we are putting to convey a positive message and reassure our people that government is doing everything else possible to attend to this, then boom, there comes a headline that says the ANC is calling for a national shutdown. That effectively suggests that we want to renege from responsibility ourselves. We do not want to participate in finding a solution. You know, we are effectively saying, no, as a party that is in government, we have been effectively liquidated. Let's allow this thing to now be on autopilot. That's how it sends that message. And when I spoke to both Koli, who interviewed me, never in that interview did we speak about shutdown. So it just puzzles me on how the editorial team that is clearly listening to an interview ongoing decides to write something that is not even spoken about in the interview. So we have got to really question this seriously. And of course, maybe outside this interview, we'll need to pick up that kind of a conversation. This is not something that the ANC should just leave lightly, because a mistake, we have to question ourselves. Your bloggers on social media, everywhere else, on Twitter, this has now generated a big conversation. I mean, would have been out when I left here, I was going to fix my son's school stuff. We had to, because I couldn't join what our comrades are doing out in Mpumalanga today together with the Secretary General. I had to leave that task to come and attend to the misrepresentation that was being done in my name. It's not correct. It's not correct at all. You know, we respect Newsroom Africa. We hold you in high regard, and we expect the same from yourselves and all other media outlets. The reason why we respond to invitations to interviews is to allow us to convey positions of the African National Congress. We said this morning that our national officials assist with this matter. And when they are done with this, they will be able to convey more fully the position of the African National Congress. So we are able to speak on our behalf. So boards that are written when we are doing interviews do not represent us. So if they want to come across as what we have said to many others out there who might come and, because someone who did not watch the interview and only got to see the banner there, what do they make of us? What do they make of the ANC? We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do this. I mean, Newsroom is an independent media outlet that we sincerely respect. So do your work in that way. We'll still come here when we are invited. And where we feel that our position has been misrepresented, we'll have to come through a right of reply and convey the position of the African National Congress. So media houses must never come across as being deliberate and intentional against the African National Congress. It's not correct.
Again, our sincerest apologies for the misrepresentation. Like you said, this is a conversation that will probably be had at the highest echelons. Thank you very much for coming through with that clarity.
I've given my time to the ANC, but I now want to go and see what the streets have in store for me. So, TV, they can come and continue. Now I'm fine.
It's William Kize. Pule Mabe, yeah? I think I will make him an ambassador, this one.
I'm on.
is going to happen. It depends whether it's going to be a full reshuffle of cabinet, or otherwise it will just be patching up, which will be done through a statement, and the government will issue that. Mbalula has been replaced by Pule. As you can see, he's very ambitious. And so, or he's been replaced by Sona. So you can go on making speculations, but there will be replacement, and it is not wrong. But it is not a conspiracy. It's a reality.
Welcome back to it, man. This is the Free Ride podcast, and of course, the unfiltered truth. Today on the show, I'm purely just reflecting on the role of a spokesperson of the former liberation movement, and of course, the former spokesperson of the ANC, Pule Mabe, and of course, reflecting on the role that the revolutionary organization has played in the last 5 years, and some of the issues that are plaguing the movement, and how difficult it is for a spokesperson to stand in front of the public and defend the organization that he calls home. And of course, on numerous occasions, he has said to me, and of course said it publicly, that there were times where he kept on asking himself, what am I doing here being the spokesperson of this party with so many issues? I mean, he's got to be responsible for a whole lot of things that were happening. And of course, we saw in this term where ministers and councillors and MPs and MPLs, when going into conferences in their provinces, in their regions, and nationally, people were just going to various media platforms and, of course, just not being in sync with one another. And, of course, you had many voices and many messages, and there was not just many voices and one message. And, of course, this is what the new SG has now called for, to say, wait again, there needs to be unison in terms of what we say. You cannot have a minister of health saying something that contradicts the minister of finance, and because the minister of tourism has said something that contradicts the ANC policy and contradicts the president, and of course attacks the president. And of course, that's been the order of the day in the last 5 years of this political term. And of course, when I spoke to Pule, of course, I didn't record any of the conversations we had. And I felt that I needed to respect our relationship, our friendship, and make sure I keep that out. But I thought, let me just reflect on the tough responsibilities that he's had this particular term. And of course, I'm going to play the last clip of his speech. And then when I am done with it, I'm going to say my final say, and then I'll be out of here. But I wish the new spokesperson all the best. It's going to be a very tough 5 years for her. And of course, we saw even with Pule last year, a lot of the Luthuli House staff members, including him, has not been paid. And of course, he even said himself that, Sipho, he had to use his own money to be able to use to fund and help some of the staff members who were either not paid or paid on time, help them with transport, accommodation to go and cover some of the ANC events. So there's a lot that the new spokesperson is going to be responsible for, that is going to cost her from her own pocket, and which is probably one of the most difficult things to do. So let's take a listen to the last video, and then when we come back, I'll say my final say.
Fire Brigade! Good evening, everyone. Comrade TG, as I call you. So this is a book that I wish reminds you that you are everything that we wish to be. You hold our dreams and aspirations. Everything that we want to be, you've shown us that we can be. We are thankful, TG. We are thankful that you were more than a boss to us, but you knew what was going on in our families. You knew who's sick in our families, who's a drunkard in our families. That's how much of a leader you are. There are no words in the book to say we thank you and we love you, but yes. Thank you, TG. I hope the journey ahead is as glorious. And thank you for believing in us, for taking a chance on us, for believing in us as young people. It's not everyone, it's not every leader of the ANC that can say, hey, what's happening with your school activities? It's not every leader that can say, hey, what's your plan for the next year? We are grateful that you were an older brother.
I want to tell Boss Madeng that every funny thing I find on social media, I send it to Refuel this one. So I look at Instagram. So if I find something funny, there's a guy called Andrew there. If I find something funny, I send to both of them. Yes, and then now they send me the other one. This one is even once she sent the baby ones. It's difficult.
Thank you, TG.
One thing I can say about Pule is that for a moment there, he really made it comfortable for us, the ladies, to be part of this beat as journalists. Although it took me 2 years for Pule to answer my calls. Oh, wow. 2 years, Pule would not answer my calls. I had to send my other colleagues, please speak to Pule. Can I get even a yes or no? I'll take it. Because I couldn't get anything from him. But eventually, when I started getting to know Pule, he was so kind. He always took my calls. He made sure that he always knew what was happening as the media. So I really appreciate the work you've done with us. And you've helped us grow as journalists, not only as women, but like generally. And as Mawanda spoke about the fun times, we always remember the fun times. Yeah, everywhere. Like there's no limit for today. It's work hard, play hard. I think that's the mantra for him. But thank you so much, Pule. You've been amazing, and we really appreciate you. We wish you all the best of luck for your journey moving forward.
I will let Pule please come forward to accept just a small token of our appreciation for all you've done for us. This is a collection of books that remind us of who you are and what you've just given to us in your capacity as a spokesperson. Thank you very much.
Everybody photo.
This one is because you have been the mentor that you are. So this says, farewell Pule Mabe, ANC 54th National Spokesperson, with love, Team DIP.
These are some of his funniest or craziest moments. So for instance, as part of his baptism of fire, 2018, just ended 2018. Thank you. So, Natasha, I think in your next life, you must stand for election in the And then, but the biggest one, which everyone knows, which was in the Northwest during the whole ruckus, the recall of Superman premier, as a whole thing, you know, it was there standing right next to his predecessor at the time, Zizi Godwa. Everyone knows you. We're in a meeting. The mood is the mood of a meeting. So it's a whole lot of them. I mean, recently, for instance, in our last press briefing towards Nazareth, the current Nazareth, were there during the announcement of the 200 NC members.
Therefore, you, Comrade Maslengi, we are there to continue building on what Comrade Pule has started as the head of DIP. So please call on us, like Comrade Pule has done, calling us at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I know it's not easy, Comrade Pule. So sometimes you're already fast asleep and then the phone rings. And then you see Pule on the phone. So, Maslengi, we are there for you. Use the scene to the best of your ability. So, comrades, I thank you all for coming to this event. Please go and enjoy the food, enjoy the drinks, and when you drive back home, please be safe. We don't want to hear comrades that have been in accidents. I thank you, comrades. Thank you very much.
Comrades exactly represent the time that we have all traveled together, the members of the fourth estate. I usually don't read out prepared speeches. I had thought that today, I must read out my last Dear Mr. President. And thank you to having allowed me to do this as a way of thanking not just the many readers of ANC today, the ANC community, the media, and everyone who joined us in this journey. ANC today was an important project of the African National Congress. I hope you are going to sustain it and treat it with the same passion that I did. I carried ANC today as an important project. Every time when I spoke to Fifi, Janet, especially the young ones, who are Amanda, and I said to them, the reason why we must create this day in history is because we must make sure that the young ones understand the history of the African National Congress. They understand how social media works, but sometimes they don't know the content that construct or constitute the life of the African National Congress. When I wrote to the president today, on ANC today, mine was about the struggle continuing. Being the mouthpiece of Africa's oldest liberation movement is not a task for the faint-hearted. I had some big shoes to fill when in the aftermath of the 54th National Conference at the beginning of 2018, I was thrust in the role of being the spokesperson of the African National Congress, as well as the head of its information and publicity machinery. Despite my previous experience as a pressman and communications manager, speaking on behalf of the ANC turned out to be a different kettle of fish altogether. And I had to learn to swim alongside the dolphins and the sharks. The 54th National Conference had been bruising enough, and the ANC leadership was mandated to unite and renew the organization. The 2019 national elections were also on the horizon, and the media was baying for blood. Eagerly awaited receipt of this publication to gauge the pulse of their beloved organization. Today, they are sitting at just over 1 million. Hey! I conceived the Dear Mr. President column to kill two birds with one stone, address the burning issues of the day, and to expound on organizational issues on our political calendar. ANC Today is also an important medium to keep our members informed without the filter of the mainstream media, which often focus on the sensational.
This digital publication today boasts with over 1 million subscribers who are scattered across the length and breadth of our country, as well as the continent, the African diaspora, and the rest of the globe, thanks to the digital technologies. I perceive ANC today in the same manner that publications such as Chava, The Voice, and Radio Freedom served as important crucibles of information when the ANC was banned during the dark days of apartheid. The platform gives voice to our ANC to engage literally, to inform and educate, thereby fostering democratic debate. Often when we hold press conferences or issue media statements, the media picks and chooses, as is their wound. Their want, thereby diluting our message. However, ANC today speaks directly to our cadres, members, allies, and broader society in equal measure. Importantly, the platform is an educational tool on our history and struggle stalwarts, whose anniversaries are often glibly treated in the mainstream media. Our movement and our country's freedom are enriched by the contributions and sacrifices of Oliver Tambo, Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Amt Katrada, Moses Mabida, Moses Kodane, Albertina Sisulu, and many others whose lives must be celebrated without a filter. It is said, Mr. President, that until the lion tells the story, the hunter will always be the hero. The ANC today is a platform that allows the lion to tell its story. I'm very proud to have walked in the footsteps of eminent spokespersons such as Comrade Zizi Kodwa and our late Comrade Jackson Mthembu. They all rose to the occasion. They all rose to the occasion during difficult times and never shied away from informing the public about the workings of the ANC. The ANC came under the microscope when the Commission of Inquiry into allegations of corruption and state capture started its work in 2019. We decided early on that the Communications Department would not provide running commentary on the evidence being led before now Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, who chaired the commission. We allowed evidence for and against the ANC to be led and challenged even as the media squeezed the ANC for more blood. ANC today thus provided the platform, provide clarity and direction on some of the revelations before the State Capture Commission. Any other way would have allowed our message to be distorted for narrow and selfish interest. During these days of microwave journalism, chasing sound bites and clickbaiting, it is our responsibility to ensure the correct message reaches the public. Mr. President, ANC today also proved to be a very important communications tool when the pandemic arrived on our shores in February 2019. When the country went into lockdown in March 2019 and all political activities were brought to a halt, the publication added to the voices that sought to guide the country into safety during the health pandemic. ANC thrives on physical engagement, vibrancy, and camaraderie at rallies, workshops, funerals, mahotla, conferences. However, COVID-19 necessitated a change in culture. There were many messages whom I refer to as post-Mahlengi, Comrade Mahlengi Bengu. I am confident that should grasp the medal with fortitude and take the ANC message to the next level. He is an accomplished cadre whose knowledge of the inner workings of the ANC would stand her in good stead when she communicates with the public. I also doff off my head to our late former Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Yasmin Jesse Duarte, who stood alongside me when the fires were raging and never wavered from what our core mandate was. I also wish to thank the comrades who contributed to making ANC today a front of political information, and I hope to see many more voices emerge going forward. To the members of the Fourth Estate, thank you for the sleepless nights and keeping us on our toes. But henceforth, don't call me. Mr. President, the last 5 years in this hot seat as the mouthpiece of the ANC has been a roller coaster ride. But I would not exchange the experience for anything. Let me leave you with this extract from activist poet laureate Rapelzi Kositsi Lespoe. Again I say, while I still have a voice, remember, always, remember that you are what you do. Asked any saying of it. Our memories of struggle refuse to be erased. Our memories of struggle refuse to die. Mr. President, my big sister, Osma Klingi, has assured me that she will sustain the engagements. We will commit to make the other side work as well. Thank you very much.
All right, welcome back to it, man. This is the Free Ride Podcast, and of course, the unfiltered truth. And of course, today is a different type of spin. I'm not ranting about anybody. I'm not ranting about service delivery or electricity problems or where things are going wrong in this country. It's purely to pay homage to one of the most tried and tested spokespersons of the ANC, the man who held it at the helm when it was extremely difficult and unfashionable to do so. And of course, I'm talking about Pule Mabe, who had a very tough 5 years as a spokesperson of the ANC. And of course, with so many attacks coming left, right, and center, the man was trending almost every week for things he has said and things he has not said. And of course, I don't know how he made it till the end, but he did. And I was honored to have been part of that 5 years in his life, and of course in the life of the ANC, and of course the life of media and communications, and being able to contribute in my own smallest ways. And of course, I've criticized him, criticized the ANC. It's a movement I love, but I've criticized it so many times. I mean, to a point where some comrades were even asking, am I joining another political party? What am I doing? What am I saying? Am I on the side of the DA? Am I on the side of the, any other party? What's going on? But it was purely out of love for the movement that we love so much, that we grew up in, many of us. And of course, so many have left the ANC because of the issues that are happening within the ANC. Many have lost even faith in the movement. And of course, those of us who still have faith, we are seen as idiots, as crazy. And then there are so many other journalists who love the ANC, who grew up in the ANC, whose parents are in the ANC, but they are not happy with what's happening in the ANC. They've criticized it. They've said it to me. They've said it publicly. They've said it to the leadership to say, face a newsroom. We must face, political editors, political news editors, and do the things we don't like to do and say the things we don't like to say about the ANC. And like, you guys are dropping the ball, So yeah, man, it's been an interesting one. So I'll be back. I'm going to keep an eye on the State of the Nation's address. We want to see how the ANC is going to react to the president as he delivers it. We saw yesterday the DA, John Steenhuisen, kicking off, and he called it not Sona, State of the Nation's address. He called it something else. I'll find the name for it, which the DA termed, and of course they do this all the time. Before the State of the Nation's address, the leader of the party wants to address the nation and give a DA alternative. And of course, they've done it got the provincial state of the provinces. They've done it got the state of the cities addresses. Where they are not in charge, they go ahead and they give an alternative speech of the province, of the city, and of the nation. And so keep an eye out for that. And let's keep an eye out on the mining in Daba. I've got something from our boy Mustafa, who's down there in Cape Town. I'll play you some of his video. He breaks down what's happening with the mining in Daba. So let's take a break. And actually, not a break. I'm out, yo. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the likes, for all the shares, and I really appreciate you. Like I said earlier, I'll be back with a full swing of interviewing artists and all sorts of different people. I'll be back and I'll be doing it quite soon. So be patient with me and I'll do it. And I appreciate you. I know so many of you DM'd me, send me messages to say, kanti di artist di tlaleng, kanti di guests tse ding di tlaneng, kanti bo mang ba tlaneng, rata content ya kokasi, rata content ya machita kokasi, man, sitana, man, vai, we lo bua le machita, mfowethu, hamba, yokhuluma namachita, mfowethu, sifuna ukuzwa ukuthi amachita bathini la ekasi. So I know, man, I need to go to Zola, I need to go to Mdeni, I need to go to Snake Park, I need to go to all these other places around Soweto. Orlando, I'll be there. Orlando, the month of April, May, hopefully I'll be doing quite a couple of interviews in Orlando. We'll be doing slightly different setups. There's a couple of ideas. There's a couple of people who are coming on board. We're just trying to tie up the loose ends, but I wanted to make sure every week I don't miss out on putting out something, and then, at least something must always come to get you engaged and that kind of stuff. So, but we are Raibo Fadide, Skawara Bafitu Raboa, in full swing. Kanganywa Gaufela, thank you very much for liking and supporting me and the podcast. We love being able to create content for you, man. So I'm out. Boom.
So here's something interesting. I'm at Mining in Daba in Cape Town, Africa's foremost mining investment conference. As one of 7,000 people, I'm here eavesdropping and conversing with very important people in the mining sector value chain. From state presidents, mine operators, advisors, investors, government leaders from Africa and across the world. Mining in Daba is big business for South Africa and Africa. This is where all the big deals are signed. But why should it matter to you? Well, according to the Minerals Council of South Africa, the mining sector employed over 475,000 people in 2022. South Africa's mineral production achieved a new high last year in 2022, 1.18 trillion rand. Exports grew to 878 billion rand. So what does South Africa get from all of this mining activity? Well, the mining sector's contribution to GDP grew by 4% to almost 500 billion rand. And its total percentage to the GDP of the country was 7.53%. Mining company taxes brought in over 74 billion rand for the country, and royalties from mining brought in another 14 billion rand. Mining in South Africa still matters. The numbers cannot be ignored. The focus this year at Indaba will be how Africa can unlock more mining investment through increasing security, stability, and supply. And even with South Africa's mining sector facing many challenges, it has underpinned this economy for over 100 years and stood the test of time. We must protect it at all costs, and that is the coal hill that I'm willing to die on.